Shane was like thousands of other young racegoers, enjoying himself at the Galway races with his friends and family. But in the early hours of the morning, Shane was hit over the head with a brick after an altercation, and as a result, Shane now has profound brain injuries. I met with Shane's family to talk about Shane, his treatment, and what needs to change for patients in Ireland with brain injuries.
Shane was a typical happy-go-lucky, going on 23-year-old, fit, involved in, he loved cycling, he loved swimming, he was big into challenging himself. He was very dependable, loads of friends.
Yeah, he was a very good-looking guy.
Oh, he was, he's gorgeous, yeah, he still is.
Tell me, Joe, about the night of the incident.
It was the night of the 4th of August. Shane was at the Galway races that Saturday. About 2:30 in the morning, the phone rang. I looked at it was Shane. I went, oh, here we go, he's locked out. There's, something silly. And it was his girlfriend screaming down the phone that Shane had been attacked. And I think the rest of it is a bit of a blur. We got up, we were talking to her as we were getting dressed or getting some clothes on as to where it was, and we got to him within a few minutes, and he was on the ground. It was a terrible scene, actually. The ambulance was called, guards were called, and there came about 10-15 minutes later, got him into Galway, into the hospital in Galway, and then he was transferred to Beaumont that night. That was it. We got to Beaumont, the operation. We were told afterwards that it could be he could wake up with a headache, or it could be more severe. And unfortunately, it ended up the more severe side of it. He suffered a severe acquired brain injury.
You're talking about an acquired brain injury, so describe for me what that injury is and how it manifests itself in Shane.
Shane, one side of his body is literally paralysed, so nothing. He can't do anything himself. He's peg fed. Immediately afterwards, he had a tracheostomy, and we thankfully we got that removed like January 2 years ago. Everything's just done from he has no body control. He can move his right arm and his left leg and his head slightly, and it rolls a bit, but he has no power over it. His brain doesn't communicate with his body.
How has this impacted on your life?
Our lives are totally changed. We take our turns at sitting with Shane morning till night, and it's just keeping him company and just waiting that maybe something could trigger something that you say, some memory that you'll be talking about, and maybe he'll react some way.
What is it that you need for Shane?
There's a new organisation set up called On Sale, which basically has a 3-year project to get people to the patients, rather than getting the patient to Dún Laoghaire and dealing with them there, that they'll come to the nursing home. So you have specialist neurophysiotherapists, you have occupational therapists, speech and language therapists. We need to get them to Shane and to the hundreds of people that are like Shane in other nursing homes and facilities around the country. It's so hard to be in a room with them and not being able to communicate and not knowing what he's feeling. We know how we feel, but it's very hard when you don't know what he feels. It's not his fault he is where he is. He needs to be looked after. The other alternative was terrible, if he wasn't. Sorry.
Can't think about that.
Yeah,
Just get over that.
He did survive.
He survived, and you can go to him, you can sit with him and put your arms around him.
He has survived for a reason.
Yeah.
And so, why has he survived? Because he will be okay in time.
Yeah, you have to be positive.
Yeah, we have to have hope. We're just waiting to climb the next mountain and hopefully bring Shane with us.
What is the prognosis for Shane? He has the care then, Joan, he just needs the services.
It's not ideal. I mean, he's very well cared for. The staff are amazing there. They're very caring, but he's in among the aged, and it's just not ideal for someone in their late 20s, and he needs to be more involved in things, more stimulation. Get the stimulation right instead of just being left. With the brain injury, it's a case of you're just left because it's unknown. Like, we don't know what to do, so it's safer just to leave him as he is. And we just can't accept that anymore. It's heartbreaking looking at Shane like that. It's just not good enough for him that he's lost so much of his life in the last 4 years, and we need to try and get it back from him.
As Joe and Joan mentioned, Shane is cared for in Ariswara nursing home in Tuam, and although it's only a stone's throw away from the Grogan's home and he's receiving great care, it's still not suitable for Shane and his needs. Today is Shane's birthday, so we pop along to Ariswara to chat to Sarah, Shane's sister.
Well, I suppose there's only 14 months between us, so we were best friends, you know, done everything together really. Shane's first disco was soon my first disco, and you know, we always looked out for each other, and that's kind of it really, you know, always close and didn't do much without telling each other.
So describe the change, Sarah, as a sister.
Well, I suppose my day-to-day life has completely changed, from like the smallest thing to just say going out. You know, I'd say like I'm here most days, so then you'd have to say who's going to come up to Shane and, you know, swap over between me, mum and dad, and even littlest things like when something big happens, being able to ring him and tell him or get a reaction, you know, like obviously I've had a baby now, he wasn't at his christening, you know, like simple things like that you just take for granted, that you just think, you know, that's kind of basically the biggest changes is everyday life really. You don't just go about living your everyday life like you did. Now it means being here and minding Shane and making sure that there's always somebody here with him, you know.
And you obviously believe that improvements can be made and that Shane's quality of life can improve.
Yeah, well definitely. I know that the changes over the last 4 years have been small, but you look at other stories like, you know, Porrick, and it's definitely possible. Nobody's told us that it's impossible. So you just have to live in hope, I suppose, or else what are you doing every day?
Joe, Sarah, and of course little Harry, who I think has probably had enough. Thank you for inviting us down to Tuam and letting us in to meet Shane, and for speaking to us today. This is really just the beginning of your campaign, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. On sale has been set up, so we're trying to get the government to obviously take the recognition that the resources are needed for people with acquired brain injuries.
Here's to the future.
Here's to the future.
That's it.
Two futures. Yeah, nicey.
Nicey.
Nice
Good
and
boy.
gentle. Nice and gentle.
So cute.
Yeah, look.
Nicey.
Oh, lovely and gentle.